nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We do have approval of posting according to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code as amended, known as the Texas Open Meeting Act. Any members of the public who wish to speak shall have 5 minutes. I don't see anyone here that is not going to be covered by the joint dispatch discussion, so if not, we will now go to our big agenda item, which is the joint dispatch. What we originally had talked about was trying to reach out to all of the cities to see if we could combine all of our efforts and make things more safe and convenient and up to date with our technology, and try to have a comprehensive dispatch. Jeremy, would you like to say something about the technology part? I know we have talked about the new CAD system and using the e-force to hopefully cover the county if we can get that done. But if not, then we'll go on with, I know Fairfield and is wanting to join with us for the joint dispatch, and so we're just reaching out to see what other cities would be interested in what we're trying to do. Most of y'all probably already know what the CAD does and what the...
More than likely they know it better than we do. We've never had it for the county. So, but all this kind of started with, Fairfield made mention of possibly disbanding their dispatch. Well, the county's not under a position that we can even take those calls anymore. Used to we could, but we got so many calls nowadays that we can't do that. So the discussion started. But the combined dispatch, I for one think it's going to be probably the greatest move law enforcement's probably ever had, or first responders have ever had here in the county. With getting a new building, we're going to get the most updated stuff, which we've already got 2 that we're getting in grant. It's a whole dispatch center, 2 of them. And like I said, it's going to be the best, newest stuff even available. To go along with that, we're going to have the e-force system, which already works with TIG and Fairfield. So obviously our communication, even just between officers in the county, is going to be much better. A lot of the things, I know I'm always talking about communication because that's a big key as far as knowing what's going on around the county, every agency, knowing what we need to do to try to help each other out. But a lot of stuff that we don't discuss is how it's going to help our dispatchers or telecommunicators, period, just because the system is going to be so much newer than what we have. Instead of pressing 3 or 4 buttons, to get something done, we're going to be able to press 1, and it's going to tell us exactly what area, you're just going to be able to click on that area and you know exactly which fire departments are going to be responding, and it automatically sends it out to all of them instead of us having to do each one completely separate, while answering the phone and handling everything else that they're handling. So the dispatch is going to be a little bit easier on them, which is going to be nice considering most of the time we're short-handed in there. Also another good big aspect of this is we're going to know where every vehicle is. We're going to know where every Fairfield police is, Wortham, TIG, us, everybody. There's going to be like a screen, a TV screen that literally has our locations everywhere there is in this county.
All of y'all seen this?
Right.
There'll be a screen for each one of those things.
And our fire departments, they're gonna have, we don't know exactly what exactly the fire departments are gonna get yet, but they're gonna have something similar. EMS, so we're gonna know where everybody is in this county and be able to talk to everybody as long as we're all on the E-Force system. I think personally it's gonna be great. I think, like I said a while ago, I think it's gonna be one of the best things this county's probably done as far as law enforcement and safety and security of the citizens since I've been around. Outside of that, I don't, you know, we will have a CAD system. I can't really talk about the CAD system. We never had one. So I've been getting with Butler and Fairfield, talking to them about theirs because I don't know much about them. So I'm going to be learning that along with everybody else. But outside of that, you know, that's about it.
All right. Mayor, would you like to ask any questions or say something about?
No, I agree. I think this is going to be the best thing that we have done. I thought the way we were doing it was very unsafe. It's going to be great for all the county, all the cities. I mean, it's going to save us a lot of money, which is good.
Yes.
But no, I'm 100% behind it. Have been since day one. Was behind it way before day one. So.
We've all been talking about this for a long time, and we're finally
really long time.
being able to move forward with it. There we go. Do you have any questions, Mayor?
I have none.
All right, or any comments, anything that you would like to talk to us about?
The only thing that I would say is that, of course, the city of Tig went to E-Force back last year. So we know that program has worked out exceptionally well. And the reason why we went to it was because we needed to have more of a centralized communication with other law enforcement and first responding associations. So we went to that, and we think it's based on what y'all are wanting to do. It's going to be a continuity of the communication between law enforcement as well as with first responders. So I think it's a good move. I think that it's going to benefit all the citizens of Freestone County. So it's a good move on y'all's part. We look forward to seeing it come to fruition.
All right, great. Commissioners, what would y'all like to add?
Have we talked about the money? Or how we're gonna split it up, or?
Well, we've talked about two different ways that we might split it up. We might look at either the populations or the call volume. And of course, the population is more stable than the call volume, but I have let me go make a copy of these so I can give it to you. Here it is. Let me make a copy of these two real quick. Sir? Yeah.
He had a rough week last night. I was there Sunday, and I don't know, he wasn't perfect with the news. They were doing a little worse. Well, that's a good thing.
I think he's going back there today.
kind of preparing for the first 4 or 5 days or so, and he got that behind him. Sunday, he still was pretty weak. I'm gonna try to check out today. I'm just yet. Somebody, one of his classmates come by and see him the other day. He said that when they left, he told them not to be, don't worry about pressing your suit because you get.
Yeah.
My brother is. Just don't worry about it. I think it's right. He's good. He's treatments to help out more with him.
Me and Mark were talking about it the other day.
Yeah.
Mark told me that story
Uh-huh.
back before Mark got married. He told me, he said, you won't have to be over getting Paul there these days because we have this ground.
Yeah.
He told me, he said, oh, Mom, you winning.
Oh, yeah. Ain't one of them. He ain't very, the humor, and a whole lot of it there. Give me back. Red goat. He likes the dark stuff, you know, it's about 10% alcohol, you know. It's mad, every time I'm in the pile, I listen to Total Wine, I give you 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. It gets in rare form.
Thank you, Paul.
These amounts were just based on just some estimates of what it might cost to operate the dispatch. And of course, depending on how many dispatchers we have, and we don't know exactly what our expenses are going to be at this time, but estimating that on the one, don't look at the top part because that is startup. Look at the, and of course, the county is paying for the building, and it'll have a generator, and then the equipment. So it would be the operating expenses that we would be looking at. Is that correct, or is the county thinking that they're going to pay, include any type of a rent amount in? I didn't put that in there.
I was under the
assuming.
impression it was just mainly operating.
Yes, that was what I was assuming, but I wanted to.
Some help in operation, because we'll provide the facility. Is that what we was thinking?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm not, like I said, to firm that up, I'm not quite sure what everybody's thinking. Now, depending on how many dispatchers that we have and of course, the salary, if we started off with, I talked to Fairfield this morning, if we combined and we started off with 8 for Fairfield and to cover the Fairfield and Freestone County part, and then depending on if TIG joins in, then we'd look at that volume and then work them also. But we would decide on how we're going to break those expenses up, whether it's going to be, well, stepping back, I'm assuming that the EMS calls, the fire calls, and the DPS calls would not be included because those would not be charged a fee. Is that correct? Is that what the commissioners are thinking? And the city, is that what y'all are thinking? That we would not use the EMS and the fire? Is that what we talked about, Jeremy, when we had the meetings?
Well, I think we need to, it needs to be considered, I don't think those agencies shouldn't have anything to do with paying, but they need to be considered in the call volume. Because, I mean,
Well, the call volume for each city that got an EMS call, is that what you're saying?
yes, I mean,
And
like,
that's out in the county?
like TIG and Fairfield EMS should be considered in our call volumes, but
Or is it all gonna go to, just for an example, since TIG is here, everything that's in the TIG EMS, all those call volumes would go to TIG, is that what you're saying?
no, like, I mean, we just need to take it in consideration.
How do you take it into consideration then?
Well, I mean, TIG, because TIG responds to the county too. TIG EMS responds out to the county just like it does in the city.
Correct, so how are you gonna split that up? I'm thinking we would not be considering those call volumes. It would just be absorbed by the county and the cities all
Well, we
together.
basically just split it.
I think the easiest way to do it is based off the tax base, because the call volumes, I mean, they are what they are, people move and it changes, we see it's not real consistent. But if you look at the size of the towns, Workland being smaller than Fairfield and TIG being in the middle, if we look at their tax base, if we look at Fairfield and we say, okay, Fairfield has a budget for their dispatch right now, and that budget is a percentage of their overall tax revenue. And I'm looking at ad valorem taxes, sales tax, which the county don't have the sales tax to add in there, but from a city standpoint, if Fairfield's dispatch cost right now, what percentage of their overall budget is that? And I would think it would be fair to say that whatever that was, we want to minimize that, we want to save Fairfield money. So if we took off a percentage of what that number was, and then looked at TIG and worked them and said, okay, what's your sales tax and your ad valorem tax? Can we get that percentage from you as well? That's the most fair way to do it, because just because somebody's got more call volumes, doesn't mean they have the money to pay that percent. They only have what they have coming in, and it's not really nobody's fault. It's just the area of the county, and you know, TIG and Workland don't have an interstate running through the middle of town, so it's that dictates a lot of what your sales tax is, or you know, your receivables are.
So we're not looking at property tax based. Sales tax doesn't figure into that.
Right, I'm just saying out of total revenue.
Okay.
If we look, and I think the easiest way to do it, because Fairfield is the only one that does have a dispatch now, so if you said you allocate this in your budget for your dispatch, what percentage of your overall revenue is that? And take that percentage and look at TIG's overall revenue, multiply, see what that amount would be. See if you can afford it the same way with Workland.
Okay.
At least then, everybody's not paying the same amount of money, but they're giving up the same percentage of money from their revenue. It's just a suggestion.
Where's the county gonna figure into that?
We know what we got budgeted right now for the number of dispatchers that we have. We're building the building and putting the equipment in there. I think the main thing we gotta look at is how much are our salaries gonna go up. Salaries, insurance, retirement.
And
And I know Judge, you mentioned having 8. We can barely take on what we have with 8, if we even have 8 at this time. Now we're supposed to take on more calls. I don't think 8's enough.
I think we'll know when we combine and see how many, when we make our schedules. And then we know, for example, for each dispatcher, we have to add a certain amount of money. So we don't know what our budget's gonna be. That's what I'm saying is, if we take in TIG, then that's gonna be, you know, another dispatcher or 2 probably, so we'll just have to,
What's the, is this gonna be 8-hour shifts?
well, it's like what Fairfield has. Do y'all have 12-hour shifts? Jeremy?
We work 12-hour shifts.
That's,
Yes, sir, I knew y'all did.
that's what we had discussed before, is going to 12-hour shifts. That way, because if we're all gonna combine and we're just gonna take on Fairfield's calls with the ones we have, and we already get caught with 1 person here and there, even when we have 8 people. We were looking at having at least like 11 dispatchers and then going to 12-hour shifts. That way there was 2 on, you know, because we're trying to allot for the holiday that we get, that right now, it's hard to take.
Well, I think that'll be something too, that the committee.
At one time, we talked about 12.
Yes.
So depending on what we actually end up having, will tell us what we need, will tell us what the amount would be. So we're not really set in stone, but you know, which we need to decide how we're going to, whether we're gonna use the tax base, or whether we're gonna use the call volume, or whether we're gonna do population, or how are we going to do that? So how do y'all want to do that?
How do y'all wanna do it? Y'all gonna be involved in this? Mayor?
Could I say just
Sure.
a word right quick, since I look over this really quickly? So I see where TIG's at. We're sitting there at, in regards to our call volumes, you know, we're sitting there probably one of the lowest areas. But then on the other side, when you go down to the population comparison, then at that point in time, we're going to be carrying one of the highest volumes. So we have the lowest calls, but yet we're carrying the highest volume. So there's going to have to be some neutral ground in there somewhere because of that. I know everybody here can see that right away. So
Yes.
because of that,
Yeah.
we're going to be on the low end, but yet we're going to be paying on the highest end.
And, you know, looking at all of that to take into consideration
I understand
how,
that.
surely, yes, I did see that.
I understand.
Now, so how would we, tell me again how, are you listening so you can maybe see how we're gonna keep that on the, you're gonna look at the total revenues, is that correct? You said
Yeah,
tax base?
I was just asking, I wasn't telling, I was just saying, I mean,
I'm
do
just
y'all
trying
think
to
that's a
figure out how
fair
we
way to
can,
do it?
how we can do that.
Or I was just looking at trying to keep it equal, based off of what they have to work with. There's no sense in asking for something that somebody don't have,
Sure.
you know? But I would think if one city is allocating a percentage,
And each city would have the same allocation, same percentage,
yeah.
okay?
Basically, in the past, has not Freestone County taken all the calls from Wortham and from TIG at no cost?
Years
So,
ago,
did y'all pay anything now to take any calls?
What was your question,
You're-
Clyde?
Y'all don't pay anything for the calls that y'all have to call in now, correct?
I'd have to check and see. I can't
No,
make
they
a
don't.
statement
No.
like that. I'll check.
years ago, when I first came, the cities did contribute. But that was 20 plus years ago.
I've been here
So,
21 years, and I've never known TIG or working
Yeah.
No.
contributing.
Well, if we could consider all of these things to come up with that percentage, because like you said, one over the other doesn't really necessarily work. So that's the two things that we have are the call volumes and the population. And so if we want to look at the tax base and
Well, we need to figure a figure on 11 people, their salaries. We're gonna furnish insurance, they going on county retirement,
yes.
okay? All that needs to be figured. That'll give you a basis to start with for operating costs. Then surely you come up with monthly utilities. Kind of like we do the budget, we figure a budget where we're collecting taxes. Kind of hard to do. So we're kind
Well-
of, it's kind of the same thing.
It's hard to know what that figure is gonna be at this point, since we don't even know what our expenses are really truly gonna be. Do you want to do it for 10 dispatchers or 11?
Gary said 11. Then we'll need 11.
How many we currently have in the sheriff's department?
Um,
Positions.
Depending on the time.
Positions.
oh, 8.
8. And how many does Fairfield have?
We have 4.
4.
Positions or field?
Field,
What
Positions.
they
Position?
keep theirs filled.
We actually have 5 positions, but we only have 4 field.
They have 5, yeah.
5 positions in former field.
Right. We have 8, but 5 field, but 1's leaving, so that's for 4.
5 are field. And they
Five
have,
field,
y'all
5.
have 4 that are field. So we're working with 9 right now.
Well, we're talking about the safety of the police officers, firefighters, the ambulance drivers, and all those people. I would think that, in my opinion, one of the most critical people is the dispatch. And I mean, we need to have enough people there to make sure that those people are safe at doing what they're doing. So whatever that takes, that's what we should do.
That figures 13, 8 and 5.
How many?
8 and 5.
Well, they have 4 field, and how many of you have field?
5.
5.
But one's leaving.
We're not, I mean,
But
we're not
yeah,
gonna need more than 12. Not on 12, not if we go to 12 hours, we're not gonna need more than 12. That's still a lot for somebody, for people to be off and not leave us stranded with one and stuff like that. That's
You
that's
still
where we
have
run into-
2.
Yeah, that's where we run into the issue, when people start getting off and we don't have enough to go anyway, so.
What about the people that you have now, when we get these new ones, and the people that Fairfield have, I mean, do they have a lot of comp time, they got time, they gotta take off, that's something we're gonna have to figure in to, when we get these new ones.
They pay their comp time,
They don't,
they pay their overtime. I think.
Fairfield does. What about yours? We just, time off? I mean, comp time.
Yeah, that's always been one of the issues.
So what I'm saying is some of yours have a lot of comp time now.
Yep.
Well, yes, since they're that short-handed.
Also, working 12-hour shift, you come out with, I don't know how the county pays, but ours, they come out with 84-hour pay period. So now they just take 4 hours of comp time. But I know some agencies, law enforcement's a little different. You work up to 86 hours before you go into overtime.
right.
Some places pay just 84 hours straight time. That way they don't have to deal with comp time, they don't have to deal with overtime.
And I think in our 12 hours, we could just work them, I figured out a schedule where you can work them to 80. That way they're not building comp or overtime if we were to pay it. But again, you gotta have enough people to make sure you can do that.
We do provide health insurance and retirement and vacation and holidays and sick time.
Well, we're all,
How we're gonna divide funds, what percentage, once we get what we're actually going to be looking at as far as funds. Maybe we could look at all three things and come up with an agreement as to the percentages. Looking first at the tax base.
do we know what our starting salaries are gonna be?
Was not. Well, that's what we're here today to decide, if you want to.
Oh, I don't know, you know.
We had raised our dispatchers to, most of them to 38, and then, we've gotten this raise. So I'm thinking, looking at your pay sheet, if you want to get that out,
Right.
I'm thinking we're gonna be in the 40s. So for right now, the total is, on hours are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, or 40,500. And then we have some that are as much as 43,960. So if we started off with a lead, say for 45 or 44, whichever you choose, and then an assistant lead, assistant dispatch lead, and then the 11 dispatchers. I mean, the 8 or 9 dispatchers besides those. Does the, what we call a lieutenant dispatch, do they actually work dispatching? And then, so the assistant, the one for the night shift, would actually be a dispatcher also working?
Right, the way, I mean, the way we're set up is the lieutenant and the sergeant, they both work. It just gives me a supervisor
Okay.
at different times.
Okay, so they would be counted just as regular workers also for part of
Right,
the 11.
they just oversee that department of our office.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be the 11 dispatchers.
That's a 8-hour shift.
So we have, of course, that farthest total to the right is 44,500. So what we need to do is to establish what we're going to pay in that, when we do the joint.
We're on the Fairfield dispatchers, what range are y'all in from your top paid to the lowest paid right now?
Theirs is a little different because they have a lot of
You get paid overtime.
overtime.
Yeah.
I know Misty had prepared a little spreadsheet showing, right here. We'll pass this around. The salary is 27,700, for example, on this one, and they're all about the same amount. No, one is 30,600, but they have overtime of 9,600. So that brings it to about the 40,000 spot too. So we need to set what we think the
11 and 40, 440,000. 11
11 dispatchers at what?
at 40, 440,000.
Well, the lead and the assistant lead would need to be just a little bit more since they're supervising. So if we did 9, isn't that correct? Is that what y'all normally do? If we did 9 at the 40 and then 1, a little more, and then another one a little more than that. I mean, if that's what you're thinking.
Well, I was just trying to get some started. Salary would be one of them.
But setting that amount, I didn't know
Yeah.
what amount we were gonna do. I think that's what we were gonna talk about today with everyone.
I mean, I think that'd be safe to say about 440, 450 in salary. But, and that includes, well, that's just salary. That's not including the insurance, but not including.
Right.
Oh,
I
insurance.
did a little spreadsheet just
Can't
looking
see.
at the lead at 45, the assistant at 44, but we can adjust that to whatever y'all are saying. I was just getting an idea, and then if we did 10 at 43, then added the longevity, the health, the retirement, that would be $581,168. But if that's not the salary amount we're using, we'd adjust that, and then if we wanted to add one more to make it 11, I just did it at 10, an even number. But that would, the 10 would be $581,168 for everything, and that would be about $60,000 per employee. So if we wanted to add one to make it 11, it would be one more.
641.
But the salary that we're talking about there is a little bit lower than what I have on my sheet, so we need to determine that. With our raise,
Can't see.
as I mentioned to you earlier, I think that they will be happy about our insurance because the new insurance that we're going to have will be zero out of pocket for the employees, which is a really good deal for them. I wasn't being presumptuous, I just kind of ran with something just to see, so we might want to change all those numbers, but that's just an idea.
But I'm figuring myself.
So if you will say how much we're going to set the salary at, that would be a good start on our budget.
That looks good to me.
Okay, you want me to change? What I need to know is what we want to set those salaries at. Is it gonna be 40 for all of the dispatchers except the two a little bit more, or are we gonna have differences based on longevity, seniority, or whatever?
Have y'all looked at that one?
That was just a little spreadsheet, just to get an idea. Let's see, I had the salaries a little higher. And that was what I got, just based on 10. Just as an
So you
idea.
rounded it off.
What did you say our lowest dispatchers were right now? 40, after the,
40,500,
Right.
but we have open, well, no, we have one that is 36,500. 36,500.
we have one that is?
Yeah, she
Oh,
just-
yeah, that's the new one.
She just started in June.
Right, that's the one leaving. I think the 40,500 is a good starting spot.
And that's where they're at.
Yes. I mean, and I say that because with what they're making plus the overtime, that's pretty close to that. So they wouldn't technically be losing any money.
Don't want to lose any.
No, yeah. So if we started at 40,500,
Supposed to be in front, because my pages are out of order.
then everybody pretty much on the same playing field that they were on anyway.
Yeah.
Your open position,
And what I did,
the latest thing I have is 35.6,
this is just what we have.
36.5.
And then
Yeah.
For your open position,
this
that's what's on this
just
Right.
printout.
our
Yeah.
current.
So we're just, we don't raise that
We
to
have
40.
added in.
Oh.
because
Well, I don't know, I was just going off of what,
If we.
I don't know what, our deal said it,
36, well, that the one that's open, his open position, this thing, this is the one I got.
36.5.
But it showed payroll, yeah, there wasn't anything on this
36.5.
one when we printed it.
Okay.
That was in the. You have your budget? Yes, no.
728, that's 731.
Let me go get mine.
How much is the insurance, how much is the insurance for a person this next year, does anybody figure that?
10,623.
How much?
10,623.84.
so basically 50,200 per person with the insurance.
She's got it figured at 6. On her sheet, she's
Yeah.
got it at 660, I think. Mine says 623.
So you're saying 9 dispatchers at basically $50,200. Because I'm including the insurance on the,
I mean, you got retirement in there too.
7%.
7%.
7% of that.
There's your other 10. With the other taxes, the FICA, FIT, and.
So it'd be about 60.
Yeah.
Okay. So
During their half of what?
Uh-huh.
So basically 60,000 for 9 dispatchers.
Yeah.
If their starting salary was 50,200. So it'd be about 60,000 once you include everything for 9 dispatchers.
450.
And then if the supervisor, the next supervisor line, I think she called it assistant lead, if they started off about 43, then they'd be about 60, 62.5, 63, we'll just say 63.
We already got them making right at
42.5.
44, right at.
But that includes the longevity.
Oh, okay, got you.
So it's 42,960, 43,960
Okay,
is the.
okay, got you.
And then if the lead was at about 46,
The lead is at 43,960.
oh, I thought you had.
Yeah,
Including the ones
Do you have a lead and an assistant lead? I thought you said lead and assistant lead.
we call it a lieutenant and a sergeant, but not everybody calls it by that.
Right.
So
But I'm saying, so,
I would think because you have 2 shifts.
yes. 46, 42, and 40,000. That's what I do.
No, it's not in there.
So we're looking at 11, not 12.
Do you have a copy of the, what we put 10 for the dispatch, that Fund 989, that's updated.
It's updated.
Could you get that?
Will.
So what was your total for the salaries, insurance, fire? What did y'all come up with?
All right, now this is figured on 10.
On 10?
10 is the total salary, retirement, and everything is 581,168. That's for 10 employees.
If you had one more and said their retirement longevity and everything was 60, then that'd be
Yeah.
640.
That's it.
Roughly figure 60 per person other
Yeah.
than the two leads.
Yes.
And you,
I came up with 669, so.
I got 6,750.
Well, that's what I got 669.
641, 168.
I got
That was
nine.
rough, because I did the 60, and then I did like 63 on the two leads, just, since their salary was a little more.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah.
With the benefit, but.
What was your total?
I got 6,700. I mean, that's just rough and pretty, that's probably a little bit over, maybe that's using 63,000 on the leads, but then cost to 60,000 on the others. I mean, because it's right at half and 40,000 salary, I mean, so, I don't know. That would be a start, I mean, that's 11, that's 11.
Yes.
Maybe it's not 99. I wanted the sheet, the budget sheet that we did for dispatch. What fund is dispatch? Dispatch?
98.
This is 98. That's
98.
one. That's just not
Yes.
the latest and greatest.
No,
Okay, you want the budget, I thought you wanted the
no, I'm
salary
sorry,
portion,
budget.
the budget.
Yes, for dispatchers, yeah. Thank you.
Because we broke, this is the first year we broke dispatch out separate.
Yes, and we did
And I don't
that.
remember what that number was, what we.
She's gonna bring it in just a minute. So basically, we will come up then with what the expenses are gonna be, look at the tax base and these other things, and come up with a percentage, and that would be then the amount that we would,
Be a ballpark figure. Huh?
sorry?
A ballpark figure.
Yes.
But at
Yes.
this time, we're just talking about on the salary part of dispatch.
Well, and actually, if you look at the expenditures, they're not gonna be that much after the first year. It would just be a little utilities, that would be separate, and,
Insurance.
and leases and agreements, because we'll be paying, and that's something that will be replacing y'all's E4s. Well, I think it is.
No, it would not.
Leases and,
Their e-forces, they're under contract, just like the county would be under contract.
wouldn't it roll all together though, at one point?
The bid that we got is for adding the sheriff's department and the fire and EMS, and then Workham's on there because they don't have it. And so the quote that we've been seeing doesn't, because basically TIG is paid up right now and Fairfield's paid up right now. So that quote we got
Okay, so
doesn't
there would
count
be-
that now.
All right.
There
Are
was,
there any other leases and agreements that have anything to do with dispatch? Just dispatch?
We're
No.
gonna have a server, is that right?
Yeah, if we're not gonna use iCloud.
I thought that was part of the deal, we had to have a server
Oh,
installed.
Yeah. I
We,
thought
we have to have a
had-
server to run our own, yeah, run our own stuff in the CAD, so it doesn't necessarily have to go through
That
dispatch.
wouldn't really come out of dispatch, though.
Okay.
Is that correct? We just say that. All right, so then there would be utilities for the building, some maintenance, maybe some purchase services, contract, conference, office office supplies, just those kinds of things, which would
Training,
be minimal.
training,
Cleaning?
training,
Training, yes, yes.
paint cleaning.
Yeah, training.
What about uniforms? Do they wear uniforms? Just y'all?
We have shirts.
So,
We have shirts, but heck, being in a building where nobody's gonna see you anyway.
I know we're blue
Glad
shirts.
they wear shirts, but,
Sheet over.
that would be a minimal. It's, the big part is the salaries.
Like you said.
At the very
It's
end,
page
very
two, but
end of your
it's
budget.
fund
Very
98,
end.
it's way in the back and it's not listed on there. Let me pass that around. That's just our current salaries that are in there.
Doesn't have page number at the top.
That's just current.
Oh,
151 on all of them.
151?
That's dated July 31st.
Okay. We're budgeted 600,000.
We're currently budgeted for 600,000.
That was just for the building, wasn't it?
No,
Says total expenditure,
that's other expense.
building's not
See,
on there.
this is what,
Page 151.
what pages?
salaries, all
151.
of this, and then other expense for 14. That's what we're trying to figure out so we can adjust to what we really need to transfer. That's last year, and see, we didn't have anything on this because,
Right.
so we just put this in to see kind of where we are. And this amount totals to what the payroll sheet has. All of that is just payroll. Our payroll.
But none of this building itself is in here. Okay. So we're looking at basically a little additional 300,000.
No, because when we add this up here, it's gonna be what we transfer in, 300. This is gonna change, and it'll depend on if we add those dispatchers, if we add dispatchers or whatever, and who joins, T, Wortham, and Fairfield, it would contribute money to that fund. Right now, this is just our payroll.
Okay.
And so where the funds come from is what we don't have in there yet. And this will change once we figure out where we really are with it. And these amounts are not set in stone, but if this is somewhere where we think we will be, then we'll know how much money to transfer in, and then maybe we can all sit down and figure out a percentage based on all of, I guess we'll need to look at the tax basis then, and,
We don't have to, I was just asking if people think that would be more fair to look at what you got coming in and what percentage that would be.
I'd be interested in property tax base, not so much the sales tax base.
we'll look at that too. Well, if we look at the total revenues, there are so many revenues for the county that come in that really, that's gonna be difficult. And of course, I know a lot of things that y'all get in, grants and things. So let's,
I think the property tax base would be a truer picture, and it's, you know, it kind of distinguishes size, I guess, a little too. size of your city would be a basis, which is probably a good idea. And I do agree that it's hard, it's gonna, you know, it's hard to, it's gonna be hard to get, I don't want it to be unfair for cities that, you know, aren't very big and don't have very big incomes. So I do agree, it's, if you don't have a very big income, it's gonna be kind of hard to get money out of that.
One thing we need to make sure everybody knows is that cost sharing allocation that you provided, that's not all our calls. That's only 911.
That's something that they provided for us earlier on.
Yeah, that's just 911 because, yeah.
Just an idea to look at.
Yeah.
And I agree, the call volume changes so much, but that's some of the things that we have looked at and talked about.
Because I know the county takes the most calls. Tig is next, Fairfield's next, then Lincoln. But if you look at it on here, it doesn't look that way. Yeah. This is just strictly 911. It don't have anything to do with all the rest of our calls.
We'll have the tax base tomorrow to look at and talk about budget. I've come up with something a little
Concrete.
more concrete. All right, so if we can look at this as an estimate, and then, all right, what about it? Anything? T, what about it, Mr. Davis?
Pardon me?
Do you have any other input that you'd like to have at this point? I know it's pretty vague, but until we get to that, hopefully tomorrow, if we can look at those tax bases, maybe we can come up a little closer with some percentages and some amounts that you can talk to your council about. When do y'all have a meeting? Not tonight, I hope.
No.
Monday?
Monday.
Okay.
Monday week.
Okay, great.
Monday week. I just make a couple of comments in regards to, you know, the considerations and how we're going to come to the allocating part of the cost of it. That you're going to be pulling from 2 or 3 different ways. You're going to be pulling, like Mayor Hughes said, on that side where the ad valorem taxes should carry a heavy weight. We're going to carry quite a bit of ad valorem tax as well. I think one thing that doesn't need to be moved away from is whichever community is going to have the most calls that come in, and then next and next and next, because they're going to be higher activity, and therefore, in the future, it's probably going to be the same way. I mean, and normally your larger cities are going to have a great deal more economic advantage, though we're kind of small over in the city of Tig now on that, but it's coming on. It's coming on. And
Did you get call volume for this last year? Do you have that?
I can get it. I've already got it for the last 2 years. I had it before when we were talking about it. That's why I know who calls where.
Okay, well, I don't have anything updated from here. If I had it, I don't know what happened to it, so if you can get that updated, maybe we can look at that and try to talk again about the percentages.
Right.
When you talk about work on call percentages, is that work on that street one, because work on fire, work on
Anything
police?
worth them PD's call to. Yes.
Yeah, that's doing the work, but some of those calls are for street, correct?
And it's they're last in the call volume.
And I would just finalize my statement in that when you put all those areas of concern together, there's going to be some cities like Fairfield and Tig, of course, we're going to have a larger economic revenue source to work with, that we may have to help some smaller communities along the way to get there, you know. And so I did want to make that comment.
Thank you.
I mean, for law, like us in law enforcement, we look at it from a call point of view, not a percentage point of view, but a call you know, where are we dispatching most of the time? Like, what's going on? Not necessarily whether there's 2,000 people or 4,000 people there, but where are we dispatching? Where's a lot of our time going? And so that's why we look at it from the call volume. Because, you know, the county per month, we take probably an average of, and I'm just saying for the deputies, about 700 calls. Then I think TIG's probably next in line around 400. And then Fairfield's right behind TIG, not too far behind, and then Wortham kind of drops way down because they don't take near the calls.
Okay,
We all.
saying that,
I had
not
originally,
quite, but it seems like the county takes about half the calls and then about a
Okay.
fourth for the other two.
yeah.
I mean, just for talking
Yeah.
points there.
Right, I mean, because the way I had it figured up is the county was paid for about 5 dispatchers. And then TIG and Fairfield would be pretty close, maybe pay 3 apiece. And then Wortham, you know, they can manage enough to pay for 1. Then that'd pretty much get us the numbers we needed. And, you know, whatever that amounts to.
Well, that amounts
That's
to
getting
about
back pretty
50
close
for
to
the
this way
county and
population
25,
goes
25.
down, you
Yeah.
know, the percentages, I mean, it gets pretty close. when you look
I mean,
at it that
it's,
way.
because I had it figured up around 300, 180, 160, and 60. That gives us the 700,000. Roughly.
And county that in 300.
Like 300 for the county, 180 for TIG, 160 for Fairfield, and 60 for Wortham. That's basically your
That's
dispatch numbers.
basically those percentages, yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's just from our point of view from call volume.
In my mind, all along, I figured the county's gonna pick up, I mean, we're,
At
you
least
know,
50%.
probably plus, I figured plus, that goes back to this population, that's
Yeah.
pretty.
All right, what other information would you like to have for your?
I really figure no matter how we figure it, it's all gonna be about the same, no matter whichever way you wanna calculate it.
I figure
It's
it's
going
gonna, I
up
figure
about
it's
the
not,
same.
it's not gonna deviate from this population percentage, it's just drastic. I mean, I can see it moving a little bit. I may be wrong.
Not drastic.
It'd be interesting.
And by the time, well, even the cost sharing, by the time you take out the EMS and the fire and the DPS, then that pretty much goes back. Not really.
Yes,
That's the
some of
county
the
rate.
calls.
All right.
More so like the tax base and property value, can we come up with those?
I'll look at that.
Let's just see how they crunch
Just see what
out.
they look like.
Let's just see how they crunch out, so it's,
When we take
Give us a
out
fair basis.
EMS and DPS
Yes.
and the fire, are they getting absorbed back into the county?
They're getting absorbed into everybody, everything.
Okay.
It's hard to divide those up, so if you leave those out, because they do service the whole county, really.
Sergeant, was the state gonna put in a little bit on there?
I wouldn't think so.
I just thought I'd ask you.
They asked you down for 20%, so. But the only thing about that is.
I can ask, but I
those
pretty well
out.
give you an answer.
Basically gives the county 25%, that's, no, that's here. That's pretty much, it's hard.
Yeah.
All right, if you can get that,
You want me to get the new numbers?
or last year's numbers, will be fine, 2022. You said you already had that, so if you'll get that, and then we'll see if Dan can give us the tax base. And
just
the-
try to come up with something that's fair. that everybody
Yes,
can-
that gives us an idea. But you can see from the number that we're talking about that it's gonna be,
Anybody think it's unfair what we're talking about at this point? Anybody against moving that direction to try to come to something.
I mean, did y'all have a number? Because y'all don't pay anything now. So did y'all have a number?
What you could afford,
Yeah.
so like us, we pay for it, but we make it happen sometimes.
I'd have to take a little bit closer look at it, but I'm sure we can come up with it.
Thank you. We're trying to be
Well,
fair to everyone.
yeah, that way we don't just, not trying to gouge you, we just want.
Yeah, it's just, you don't ask somebody what they, it's right, can't provide.
And the beauty, of course, the beauty of it, ladies and gentlemen, is you got to take a step, you got to move in one direction, and you never know sometimes how it's going to work, but somebody's got to take the step and move, and then you have to adjust accordingly.
Yes, and we will look at that again the next time, sure.
But the good thing, I mean, is for everybody's good, from the safety of our law enforcement to the response time for our citizens. I mean, we all have to know that this is the best thing we can do. So whatever we gotta do to get it done, I mean, as long as we work together, is definitely the right move to make it happen.
And it's too bad we can't still dispatch for everybody, but we're at a point now where, the county carries all the costs on these dispatching, outside of Fairfield. We still handle the 911s and send them to Fairfield, but, we're just at a point now where there's so many calls. It's not necessarily crime calls, it's just crazy calls that we deal with on a regular basis, and we can't keep doing it because we just can't carry the load like that.
Plus, all this new technology and building and all of this, we're all trying to move forward for the betterment of our county citizens. All right, what else? Chief, you got anything back there?
Misty, you been awful quiet.
Thank you for everything, Misty.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Speak now or hold your peace until tomorrow. Okay. We have a motion to adjourn.
You got that.
Thank you.
Second.